Good day, viewers, and welcome to another OnSide SA soccer show. Paul is in France, hopefully following the Springboks regaining the World Cup. And joining me shortly from his Fulham studio in the UK will be our regular correspondent, Stevie Braham. But we kick off, as always, with our last one standing. And heading into week 9, we had 144 entries. 98 went through. 28 on Brentford, 25 on Man United, 19 on Newcastle, 14 on Liverpool, 5 on Aston Villa, 4 on Wolves, 2 on Tottenham, and 1 on Man City. The unfortunate souls were the 45 on Notts Forest and 1 entry on Arsenal. The picker of the round, goes to the 4 guys that were on Wolves. Pauline Young, Sky Shabalala, Mark Rogers, and Darren Fox all saw Wolves come from behind to beat Bournemouth. We have 12 ladies remaining. Sam Cooper-Bull, Pauline Young, Eva Micklewood, Linda Potts, Ancilla Jackson, Cindy Rydell, Kerry and Jocelyn Everett, Blair Miller, Starlene Hoosen, Nicola Grove, and Tracy Nell. 3 post-net guys are still in the hunt. Ernie Roper, David Wheeler, and Kutso Kakana, still going strong. Our internationals, males that is, because some of them are in the ladies, is Jack Power, Steve Potter, Derek Ramsey, Neil Horsman, Ashley Rushton, Steve Griffiths, Ian Byrne, Gary Spencer, Stevie Braham, and our new toad favourite, Mark Buck Rogers. Guys, there is a game on Friday between Crystal Palace and Spurs. If you do want to pick either of them, I don't know how many can pick Tottenham, so you'll have to be on Palace. 8 o'clock on Friday is closing time. If not, Saturday, 12 o'clock. On to our weekend sport, should I say Champions League. And Steve, good morning.
Morning, Budge.
Champions League, you watched much over the last couple of days?
Yeah, I've watched a few of the games the last sort of couple of nights. Yeah. Look, I mean, City sort of did what we expected them to do. Yeah. I think the disappointment last night certainly was for Newcastle. I think they needed to at least get a point, and I think that I mean, we know they're in the group of death, and I think that was a really bad result for them last night. So they're under a bit of pressure now. Yeah,
Man City playing on that plastic pitch in Switzerland. I don't know how they allow it, but what can you do? You know, what's the Celtic Atletico Madrid game, Steve? What a good game. Celtic, unfortunately, they just haven't got any decent or quality players to match. Atletico Madrid were lucky they got the point, even though they finished strong. But I'm glad for Celtic, but they're not going anywhere, especially to the last 16. Man United, Steve, I can't believe it. I watched it. I was in the Berg. It was desperate. I'm glad Harry Maguire scored, but I don't like what I see, and I think we're going out. What do you think?
Well, I think, look, and it wasn't a very good display. Certainly the second half they picked up, and if it wasn't for a good save and that penalty, I mean, that could have been all over. They have to get a result in Copenhagen and get something in Istanbul. Yeah. Otherwise, I think you're right, they will go out. So it's going to be, it's still in their own hands, but I think that. It's not looking. I thought Galatasaray played quite well. I watched some of their game. They play well until sort of gave away goals right at the end, and I think that's going to be a tough ask for United. But let's just say, still in their own hands. But there's just something not right. They're just not firing on all cylinders at all.
Yeah, there's definitely a split in the camp, in the change room especially. Arsenal beat Seville 2-1. Steve, I knew it'd be competitive, but that's a great result for Arsenal.
Yeah, very good result. It puts them in pole position. They've got two of the last 3 games at home. Yeah. Play Seville next at home. They win that, and they've pretty much got 1 foot in the knockout stage. Yeah,
great result against a dangerous Sevilla team. On to tonight, Steve. West Ham, tough game in Greece against Olympiacos.
Yeah, I think this is the toughest game of the group for them. Yeah. I think they'd be very pleased if they even sort of come away with a point, and probably be enough for them. But always a very lively atmosphere in Greece, and I think that it should be a decent game. He'll need to play a strong side to get something out there, I think, David Moyes.
Yeah, Olympiacos always dangerous at home. Brighton Ajax, Steve, that looks a pick of the Thursday night fixtures. Brighton have got to get a result here.
Yeah, they certainly need a result, and they're playing against a team, Ajax, who are having their worst ever start to a season since professional. I was reading this morning, since professional football started in the Netherlands in 1954. This is the worst run they've ever had. You know, they're sitting one from bottom of the Eredivisie, only 1 win from 8 in all competitions. Sacked the manager this week, and you know, if ever Brighton had an opportunity to beat a team like Ajax, I think it's tonight.
Yeah, looks like Eric Ten Hag, a few bad results at Old Trafford. He could be back there. And Liverpool surely got to be too good for Toulouse.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, he might rotate a little bit, Klopp, but they should certainly be too strong.
And Europa Conference League, AZ Alkmaar, Aston Villa. That's a tough game for Villa.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, you know, AZ, as we know, sort of took West Ham to the semi-finals last year. Villa will need to play a strong side. I think they'll win this group, Villa, and I think that if they play a strong side, the way they're playing at the moment, they should get something there.
Yeah, I agree. 12-10 is a decent price. Anyway, on to the weekend. We start on Friday night. Crystal Palace against Tottenham. Tottenham going well, Steve, but this won't be an easy game for them.
No, you know, we know that Palace don't concede many, they don't score many.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of their problem. And Tottenham, I think, would be happy to sort of sit back a bit and catch you on the break, and that's what they do best. You know, Tottenham are really playing, you know, some nice football. It's interesting that Postecoglou thought that their second half against Fulham was their worst performance of the season. But I think that they'll go there with confidence, knowing that they win. You know, they'll stretch a little lead at the top that no one will be able to catch them this weekend. So I fancy Tottenham to go and get a result. For me, I think it'll be low scoring, but I think Tottenham will just edge it.
Yeah, I agree. I saw 11-10 under 2.5 goals, which I thought was a big price. But this will be tight, Steve. 1-0. 1-1, 2-0, either way. That I don't know. I got a funny feeling this is a tough game for Spurs. Chelsea, Brentford, Steve. If ever a team threw it away last week was Chelsea. How they never scored the third goal with those runaways, I don't know. Brentford, good result at home. This won't be easy for Chelsea.
No, and in fact, I mean, last year they didn't do very well against them at all at home. I think you're right. Chelsea played well against Arsenal. I think that Chelsea should start as favourites. Brentford had a good result. I mean, they haven't been playing that well at home, but I think it'll be a tough game. But I think Chelsea should just get through that. Yeah,
I thought 31-10 the draw looked a decent price. But if Chelsea aren't going to keep scoring those goals, they're not going anywhere. Bournemouth, Burnley, Steve, the relegation clash at the bottom. Which way do you see it going?
Yeah, it's a huge game. I mean, the Bournemouth's new manager is odds on to be the first Premier League manager to be sacked. I suspect if they don't win this and they're still, you know, in the bottom 2 come the international break, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he goes. I think Burnley surprised me. I thought that they would give Brentford a better game, but by all accounts, they were completely outplayed. I still think they might get something there. I think that Vincent Kompany's got to get them going a little bit, and I think they're capable of sharing the points. Yeah, for me.
Just as you say, last chance saloon for Bournemouth for the manager. You know, look at Burnley, Steve. They've lost 7 and 9 of the games that they got. They beat Luton and they drew with Forest. So you know their form isn't great, even though they try and play this nice football. I fancy Bournemouth for the 2. There has to be goals here, Steve. They both got to go for it. A draw doesn't suit anybody. Now I went Bournemouth to score over 1.5 goals at even money. That's my suggestion. In a game that could go either way. But of the 2 sides, I just think Bournemouth's desperation could side it. But it wouldn't surprise me whichever way it goes. Arsenal, Steve, surely they've got to thump Sheffield United.
Well, look, you would think so. I mean, on paper, it's it looks like it should be a comfortable win for Arsenal. You know, they had a good result during the week. I don't think they've got any more injuries since Tuesday night. Sheffield United have got, I mean, they game. I mean, they try, but ultimately, their defence are just not strong enough. And I think if Arsenal play as they do, I think Arsenal's complacency sometimes lets them down. They get ahead and then they don't finish teams off. Well, I think if they do go ahead against Sheffield United, I think that they'll beat them sort of by 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think this has got 3-0, 4-0 written all over it. A couple of ways to look at it. Arsenal to score over 3.5 goals was 16-10. And over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no was 18-10. So that's what I went for in my bets. Steve, is the Wolves Newcastle, is that the upset of the weekend?
Well, Wolves, I think, will certainly give them a good game. I mean, Newcastle, 1 or 2 injuries, obviously had a tough game last night. Wolves are just, got a good result, down to 10 men, but they got a good result. Sorry, against 10 men. They came back and got a winner at the end. Having beaten sort of, Man City as well and played well against Liverpool, I think this could be a very close game. I still think that Newcastle have got enough about them to get a result, but I think Wolves could, if they keep it tight and they keep those Newcastle forwards out, I think they could hold them.
Yeah, I just think there has to be goals here. And just looking at Newcastle, they're better in attack than defence. And listening to Eddie Howe last night, he was with Rio Ferdinand. He wasn't complaining about the size of his squad, but he wasn't obviously happy with it. And, Wolves, only 2 home defeats were to Brighton and to Liverpool, and they did beat Man City. So unbeaten in 4, I've got a funny feeling that this could be it. But you never know with Newcastle, Steve. They do score goals, and Wolves are in and out. But I think there will be goals in this particular clash. On to our second page, West Ham, Everton. West Ham, Steve?
It should be, but I think Everton will make it tough for them. But on the road, they're still finding it tough. I think if West Ham play a strong team tonight, they've got to travel back from Greece to get back in the early hours of the morning. But I think on paper, West Ham should just be a little bit too strong.
Yeah, I fancy Everton, Steve. There's something about them. Last week against Liverpool, they dug in and Ashley Young got sent off. I think it would be a blessing he's not playing. I was really disappointed in West Ham last week at Aston Villa. So they just seem to throw the towel. I know Villa at home are a dangerous team, but, this Thursday, Sunday, and a lot of guys playing internationals now, I've just got a funny feeling that Everton will get something out of this. I backed Everton to score a couple of goals, but this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think, I just think Everton will score first. I think I saw 12-10, so I'll have a few rand on that. And, some of these Europa League teams with hard games, especially away from home, Steve, they start off slowly on a Sunday. So I'm taking a chance on that. Should be West Ham. I think they're on a bad side, but... something about Everton. Every time I trust them at home, they let me down. But away from home, I think their performances haven't been too bad. Talking of performances at home, Aston Villa, 11 in a row. Surely it's got to be 12.
Well, you would think so. I mean, again, obviously they play away in Europe tonight, but their home form is exceptional. And Ollie Watkins now is obviously got his scoring boots on. They finished very strongly against West Ham last week. I think that they'll do the same again this weekend. Yeah,
I've just got a feeling that Luton are slowly getting to grips with the Premier League. They scored in 4 of the last 5, and I think they'll score here. They could get beat 4 or 5-1. But I just like the fight they've showed. That point at Notts Forest last week, I know they'll be outclassed, but I just like the fight they've shown. And Aston Villa to win, both teams to score for me is the right. But I think I saw 24-10, and Luton just to score was 8.5-10. So I think that's not the worst of prices. Steve, Brighton, Fulham. Brighton, remember the last Europa League? They got a big game tonight against Ajax. If they don't win that, they're in serious trouble of going out. I wasn't disappointed in your team. I thought they're a little unlucky. If they should have scored, there was a great save from the keeper. I know you, obviously the result wasn't great for you, but I wasn't disappointed in the result. I mean, the performance. Were you?
Well, I think that's been, our issue. Obviously, we know we haven't replaced Alexander Mitrovic.
Yeah.
Scoring goals has been a problem. We got into some good positions. Certainly in the second half, we had some good chances, but just not clinical enough.
Yeah.
And obviously we gifted without, obviously don't make excuses, but we had to play two left-sided centre-backs, and obviously one of them, Bassi, made a haulix of his right-footed clearance. So, but Tottenham on the night, were clinical, and I think that's the difference. This will be a tough game. Last season we went to the Amex. We were outplayed and came away with 3 points.
Yeah.
I think, Brighton have got 1 or 2 injuries. I understand that sort of Danny Welbeck, Solly March are both out for a while now. They've got a tough game tonight. I think we're capable of going there and getting a point, but I think it's I can't see us scoring more than one if we do score, and I think that's our problem at the moment. So, look, I think Brighton will certainly start as favourites, but I think we're capable of holding them.
Yeah, I just think he's going to make several changes, Steve. In the first half, you've got a great chance to try and capitalise. We saw them the last time they were at home, and they had to bring Matoma and a couple of guys on in the second half to get out of jail. It will be a tight game, but I think there'll be goals, Steve. Don't be surprised if this ends up 3-2 or 2-2, Steve. Well, I'm banking on that because our money's down. Liverpool, too good for Notts Forest?
They should be. I mean, last year it was a good game. It was one of those games where Forest just sort of showed that they were going to have a bit of fight in them. Yes. And scored a couple of goals. But Liverpool at home are just, scoring goals, and I think that they'll continue. I think it will. I could see Forest scoring, but I think Liverpool will be far too strong for them. Yeah. So I fancy them to win by something like sort of 3-1, something like that.
Yeah, totally agree. I saw over 2.5 goals was like 4-10. Over 3.5 was over even money. I like Liverpool to score over 2.5 goals at even money. That's my suggestion in that game. And Steve, the Manchester derby. Give me confidence that United can score a goal, let alone get a point.
Well, look, they're capable of scoring. I mean, they do often raise their game against the big sides. I mean, last season was one of those where they did against City. But, if you look at the way both teams have been playing recently, it's interesting. Pep rotated 7 players last night, obviously with an eye on with keeping his powder dry for the game at the weekend. I think City should be too strong. United have got to show some fight, though. I think that's really key. But I think that City have just got too much about them up front, and I think they'll. I don't think they'll walk away with it, but I think it will be. I think it'll be an away win.
Yeah, having watched United at home against Galatasaray and at home against Brentford, Steve, barring a miracle, this is one-way traffic. Man City 7-10 was going to be my bet of the round, but obviously we want slightly better odds. To win by more than 1 goal was 17-10. I just can't see City not scoring, Steve. 7-10 to score over 1.5 goals. That Man United defence is woeful. And I hate to say it, I think we're going to get a good hiding here. And all my mates that are at the game, have a pint or 3 before the game, because this isn't going to be easy. On to the Championship, where the first game is, get it up here now, Leeds United, Huddersfield. I watched a bit of Leeds last night, Steve, because I had a few rand on them. 78th minute, they get a penalty. Bamford comes off the bench and balloons it, and they end up getting beat 1-0. Don't you think it's time to sell Bamford if someone will buy him?
Well, I'm not sure anyone is going to pay a lot of money for him. I mean, he's injury prone. He's hardly played in the last couple of seasons. His confidence is shot. I think that was a real mistake, giving him the penalty to take. Yeah. And obviously it proved costly. Disappointing result. I thought they might get something last night. Yeah. Having had a sort of a decent run. But I think they should be too strong in this Yorkshire derby. I think that they'll be smarting after that, and I think they'll come back with a win. Yeah,
got to agree. Anything is a lunchtime kickoffs after playing on Wednesday. I think there'll be a few goals, but 1-3 leads gives it away. Southampton, I'm going to see a good mate of mine, Gary Green, who'll be winding me up. Scored the last kick of the game to take a couple of points, 3 points off my Preston boys. Wayne Rooney, 2 games, 2 defeats, Steve. Poor start for Birmingham. Well, this won't get any easier.
No, I mean, by all accounts, and I saw the goals and the stats, Hull outplayed them. Yeah. As I said last week, you got to feel for John Eustace. He got them up into a playoff place, and they've lost the 2 games that Wayne Rooney's been in charge, and they're sinking like a stone. Yeah. They're still semi-decent side, but I think Southampton, which for me will start as favourites. I think it'll be close, but I think that they got the players Southampton to get the result.
Yeah, I think there has to be goals in this, Steve. One thing about Southampton, they do go forward. They are woeful at the back. They try and play out from the back. Doesn't suit the players that they've got. There will be goals. But I agree. I think Southampton will score a couple and they should win in what should be a high-scoring game. Blackburn, Swansea, Steve. I had a bet on Swansea. A nice treble to come. They got beat 1-0 at home. I couldn't believe it, by Watford. Can they get a result at Blackburn?
Well, I think that was a little bit of a surprise with Swansea, and I think that they'd had a really good run recently, and I fancied them to get something, and by all accounts, Watford were good value for the win. Blackburn, again, you don't know what you're going to get with them. They win one week, lose the next. Had a good result had a good result at Millwall during the week, and I think they're probably just starters favourites at home.
Yeah, I think there's only one thing you do with Blackburn is go the goals route. You know, I may have a few rand on Swansea to try and get my couple of hundred that I lost on them in midweek, but goals is definitely the way to go. Cardiff City, Steve, going great guns in the Championship. 12-10, a fair price against Bristol City?
Yeah, I think that's a decent price, and I think that they had a good result, very good result away. Bristol City were beaten at home, although obviously against a very good Ipswich side. I fancy Cardiff to win that. They're just starting to sort of pick up after a few fairly poor seasons. I think this is a decent season for them, and I think they will be too strong. Yeah,
4 wins and a draw at home, going well. I didn't take the 12-10. I took 12.5-10 Cardiff to score over 1.5 goals. I've played on the safe side because I think Bristol City will score. On to the second page, Hull against Preston, Steve. Hull, as you said, good value for the victory against Birmingham City away. Can my boys get a result here, or is it draw the best?
Yeah, I mean, they're capable. I think Hull, interestingly, have drawn 4 and lost 1 of their last 5 at home, but that was a good result last night. And I think there'd be a close game. I think there'd be goals, but I wouldn't be surprised if they cancel each other out. So I think Hull at home are hard to beat, but Preston are a hard team to beat as well. Although they haven't won in a few now, but I fancy a draw.
Yeah, we drew 2-2 from the reports that I read that we deserved to win. Created plenty of chances, which is a positive. We haven't won in 6, which isn't a good sign. Hopefully we can avoid defeat here, but it won't be easy. Can't believe Ipswich Town, Steve. One of the guys that I listened to said they're a dark horse to go up. Great start to the season, Ipswich. Home against Plymouth Argyle. Another comfortable 3 points?
Yeah, I mean, an incredible start, really. You think they've got a game in hand over Leicester. They've won 10, drawn 1 and lost 1, and it's an amazing start for a side going up. I mean, last season, they were neck and neck with Plymouth, and here they are, quite a few points. Plymouth had a good win last night.
Yes.
They score goals, but so do Ipswich, and I think there'll be goals, and I think Ipswich will should just be a little bit too strong at home.
Yeah, you got to fancy Ipswich at home. Next game we go on to is Middlesbrough versus Stoke City, Steve. The form team of the league. Michael Carrick's turned it around. Should be another home win.
You would think so. I mean, it's crazy how they started so poorly, and then all of a sudden it's like like a switch was turned on, and they've won sort of 6 in a row.
6 in a spin,
5 in the last 6. It's incredible. And Stoke got a good result last night, but I think the way that Borough are playing, I think that they should be too strong, and I think a home win.
Yeah, 8-10 should be in all your multiples. Now QPR can't buy a win at home against champions-elect Leicester City. This should be an easy victory, shouldn't it?
Well, look, on paper, you'd think so. QPR, 1 home win in a year. I mean, it's just unbelievable. They find themselves 6 points adrift now in the, of the team they've got to catch. Leicester, 12 wins in their first 13. Everything points to a very comfortable away win. It could be one of those crazy games where QPR defy the odds, but the way that Leicester are playing, you can't see anything other than a comfortable away win.
Yeah, Leicester to win and over 2.5 goals with 16-10. That's in my bets. The next game we go on to Sunderland-Norwich. Been a bit disappointed in Norwich of late, Steve. 1 win in the last 7. Sunderland won't give them an easy afternoon. Which way do you see it going?
Yeah, no, not at all. So Norwich had a decent start to the season, and they were sort of right up there, and all of a sudden they just fallen away, lost again during the week at home to Middlesbrough. I think that Sunderland will be too strong. I mean, they had a bad home defeat a couple of weeks ago, Sunderland, but I think they'll be a little bit too strong, and I just think they'll just edge this one. Yeah,
Watford, 2 wins and a draw in the last 3 league games. Steve, cost me the other day against Millwall. This will be a tight game. The draw at 23-10, you think that's the right way to go?
Yeah, either that or a home win. I think that obviously Millwall, getting rid of sort of Gary Rowett, and it's not as if it sort of worked for them. It was a disappointing result for them home to Blackburn during the week.
Yes.
And Watford got a very good result last night at Swansea.
Yeah.
And I think that if they build on that, they could start to, after a poor run. But I think for me, Watford would just start favourites in that game.
Yeah, they're just hard to back, Steve. And every time you go for them, they throw in a woeful performance. So I've stayed clear of them. But you're right. You know, Watford, if they do, they've got some decent players, but Millwall always hard to beat. The worst team in the league, Sheffield Wednesday, Steve, 3 points from 12 league games. If they'd have been playing anybody but Rotherham, I'd have been on the away side, but Rotherham also having a nightmare run. Which way do you see it going?
Well, in fact, Sheffield Wednesday's even worse. It's three points from 13 now after getting well beaten last night. Rotherham had a good win. Rotherham had a very good win last night, but it's their away form. It's their away form. They've conceded in every game. I mean, this really is a battle of two of the bottom three. Sheffield Wednesday, it's their worst ever start to a season in their history. Yeah. Look, you just don't know what you're going to get. I mean, Rotherham, to be fair to them, are scoring goals. Yes. I can see them avoiding defeats, but you know, if Sheffield Wednesday don't win this, you just can't. You just see them. I mean, they're already 11 points adrift. Yeah. You know, and the season is you know, hardly got going. I think that for me, I think Rotherham are capable of holding them. Yeah,
I think there'll be goals, Steve. One thing I've noticed over all the leagues, when two of the lowest teams play, they've got to have a go. They don't sit back, and it's amazing how many games you wouldn't think there'd be goals, but there have been. So I want both teams to score just a shade under even money, even though it won't be one game I'll be watching. And last but not least, Coventry against West Brom Monday night, Steve. This should be a decent game.
Yeah, although I've been pretty disappointed in Coventry this season. They just, you know, they've kept most of the squad intact, except they probably sold their two best players. You know, they sold Gustavo Harmer, who's that sort of midfield dynamo for them, and obviously Gyökeres up front, and it's really affected them, and got a bad result this week. I fancy West Brom are just starting to climb up the table a bit now. You know, they've got a decent squad, a good manager. I fancy West Brom to go and get a result there.
Okay, I just thought there'd be goals Monday night, the world would be watching. You know, I went Coventry. I think that's got a few goals. You know, West Brom let me down last week, Steve. I had it in all my multiples. They drew it home with Plymouth. Another team I can't catch, even though my Preston guys said they were one of the best teams that's come to Deepdale this year. Steve, it's pressure time again. Last week, you're 100%. Who you on this week?
Yeah, trickier this week. I think I'm going to go for Cardiff at home. I just think, you know, they're having a really decent season, 4 wins and a draw at home, their last 5. I fancy them to win the, they called it the 7-side derby. Okay. And for me, I'm just going to, just because I think that there's quite value in the odds, I'm going to go for West Brom. You know, I think they've got better than even chance of winning that, and there are good odds there. So, you know, I'm just going to stick my neck out. I don't think I've backed them this season, so I'll go for West Brom.
Yeah, I think Middlesbrough 8-10. I think that looks a gift anyway, and I'm chancing Everton. I don't know why. There's something about them that every time away from home, they just look far superior. I watched them against Brentford. You know, I watched them the other day at Brighton. They just seem to have that knack of performing well. David Moyes, Sean Dyche, very similar style managers. I'm taking a chance on the Toffees to get me a couple of rounds. But, you know, as I look around, Steve, a lot of short price sides this week. So I don't like that, but what can we do? Steve, thanks as always. And don't forget to send your last one standing pick. And we'll speak over the weekend.
Round 10.
Round 10, Steve.
Record for me.
Well done. Keep it going. No pressure, no pressure. Take care.
Yeah.
So
UK. Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Steve. UK correspondent Stevie Braham. On to the PSL this weekend, and we had a game in midweek. AmaZulu 0, Orlando Pirates 0. It's pointless having the ball to all you Buccaneers fans without scoring. Certain stages I thought they had to score, but they tossed it, and 0-0. Not a good result for our MTN8 winners. There's a game tonight, SuperSport United versus Royal AM. SuperSport, terrible result in the Cup against Polokwane. I expect them to rebound. On to the weekend, and we kick off on Friday with Orlando Pirates against Polokwane. Bad result, as I said earlier, for Pirates. I can see them coming back. 7-10 is a bit short, but I think they'll be too good for an improving Polokwane side who are unbeaten in 4. Golden Arrows going great guns, high-flying at home against the Kaizer Chiefs team, who have lost 3 of the last 4. How they lost to AmaZulu in the Cup last week, I still don't know. Golden Arrows going well. There will be goals in this. I'm waiting for the odds to come up, both teams to score. That would be my suggestion in a game that could go either way. Chipper United and PE, always hard to beat, but AmaZulu's last 2 results. They beat Kaizer Chiefs and drew with Orlando Pirates. So 21-10 the draw. looks a good bet. And if you fancy the correct score, I think it'll be around about 9-2, 5-1, 4-0. On to our second page, Richards Bay, Cape Town City. Cape Town City's league form's improved, but they got knocked out of the cup last week by Golden Arrows. Richards Bay, I watched a bit of it, had a great result beating Morocco Swallows. Another tight game. The draw's the right way, but I think this has got 1-1 written all over it. 6-1 normally the odds on that scoreline, so that would be my suggestion. Unfortunately, the Sundowns Swallows game has been postponed because Sundowns are likely in there's an African League Cup, so they are playing them on the weekend, so that particular game is cancelled. And I fancy TS Galaxy. They won their last two at home. Sekakuna, always hard to beat, but TS Galaxy is my suggestion in Sunday's game. On to our exotics for the weekend in our Score 6 Gold Circle pool. I've thrown the draw in with Chelsea at home against Brentford. I think Leeds United will be too good for Huddersfield Town. I've gone the field looking for the upset in the Southampton-Birmingham City, and Bournemouth-Burnley game could be either way. Arsenal should outclass Sheffield United, and I've gone the draw in Newcastle United at Wolves 2-1-6. On to other Soccer 6 for Saturday. I'm going Chelsea win and draw against Brentford. The field in the Golden Arrows Kaizer Chiefs, Bournemouth versus Burnley fixtures. I think Arsenal will be too good for Sheffield United. I'm going Chipper United win and draw at home against Amazulu. And I had to find another banker, so I'm chancing Newcastle United to win at Wolves 2-1-6. On to our Score 10 for Saturday. I'm going Chelsea win and draw against Brentford. Bankering Leeds to beat Huddersfield Town. Southampton win and draw at home against Birmingham City. The field in the Bournemouth versus Burnley game. Arsenal should be too good at home against Sheffield United. On to our second page, I'm bankering Middlesbrough to beat Stoke City, Leicester to beat Queen's Park Rangers, Norwich City to avoid defeat at Sunderland. The field in the big match of the weekend, El Clasico, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Newcastle United win and draw against Wolverhampton Wanderers 2-88. On to the Soccer 13, where I think there is a carryover. So I'm going Newcastle United win and draw against Wolverhampton. I'm going Arsenal to beat Sheffield United. I've got to find bankers. I'm chancing Bournemouth to be too good for Burnley. Real Madrid win and draw at Barcelona. Blackburn Rovers win and draw at home against Bristol City. I think Cardiff City will be too good for Bristol City. Hull City win and draw at home against Preston North End. On to the second page, I'm banking Ipswich to beat Plymouth, Middlesbrough to beat Stoke City, and Leicester City to beat Queen's Park Rangers. Game I think will end in a draw. Sunderland versus Norwich, but I've gone win and draw the home team. Watford to avoid defeat at home against Millwall, and Charlton Athletic win and draw at home against Bolton Wanderers 2-56. On to our budgies bets for the weekend and our Premiership treble. I'm going over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no. So that's 3-0, 4-0 either side in the Arsenal versus Sheffield United game. I'm going Aston Villa to beat Luton and both teams to score yes. And Man City to beat Man United and over 2.5 goals was 18-10 this morning. I think it's a gift. 3,600 to 200 is that bet. Our team goals only, I'm going Bournemouth, Everton, Man City all to score over 1.5 goals, and Luton Town just to score 2,700 to 200. I've kept it in the Premiership. I'm going over 2.5 goals, both teams to score yes in the Wolves Newcastle, West Ham Everton, Aston Villa Luton, and Brighton Fulham matches 3,300 to 200. On to the Championship, I'm going Middlesbrough to beat Stoke City, Leicester City to beat Queen's Park Rangers and over 2.5 goals, and Cardiff City and Coventry City both to score over 1.5 goals, 3,400 to 200. Our Championship, both teams to score sides are Leeds Huddersfield Town, Southampton Birmingham City, Sheffield Wednesday Rotherham, and Coventry West Brom 2,300 to 200. And our Collis King 6 or Nexa, I'm going Man City to beat Man United, Middlesbrough to beat Stoke City, Atletico Madrid to beat Alaves, Athletic Bilbao to beat Valencia, Juventus to beat Hellas Verona, and Inter Milan to beat Roma 3,100 to 200. For all the guys left and last one standing, please remember Friday 8 o'clock if you want the Crystal Palace Tottenham game, or Saturday 12 p.m. for the early kickoff. To everybody else, please remember to stay on side.